Okay, this here is Connor, and he's fairly new to pitching. He had a little bit of experience before we got to work with him. And at this stage, my big concern is trying to get the kids to throw strikes as opposed to trying to get them to throw with a variety of, mechanical tools that will eventually lead to strikes. My experience, you can teach velocity, but it's a lot harder to teach throwing strikes unless we start early. So in Connor's case, this is his second video, and we'll see that he's still raw in his development, but he's very eager and he does his best to try and learn. So we can see a couple of things. He's bending that knee a little bit. Usually that ends up putting a little more of your body weight onto your thigh. So that's going to take away some of the drive you can get towards your catcher. The other thing is that he hasn't shifted his weight back, and you can tell because his nose is not over his back knee. So what we try to do, or his belly button, so what we try to do is we want to get our players to start falling back towards second base, or at least transferring their weight back towards second. So when they end up moving forward, they're starting momentum based on their body weight and not just stepping and then therefore using their entire arm to throw the pitch. So you'll see what he does here is he separates his hands before he starts moving towards the catcher. So that's something we'll address eventually. It's a little bit harder at this stage, but he's doing something very good here. He's pointing toward the catcher the whole time. He's got a really fairly good, like his arms are level. He's got the ball in a good cocked position. Perhaps I would try to get him to turn his hand so the ball is facing second base. But I'm not all that worried about that right now, because what I see here is we're trying to make sure that he throws a strike. When he lands, he's taken a fairly good stride. It looks to me as if his knee seems well supported, although it might be leaning in. His glove is in a good position in case the ball is hit back toward him as well. When you bring the glove towards your hip, it helps spring your torso towards your target. He opens up his trunk. His nose isn't too far away from that front knee, which is good. However, his leg has come off the ground here, which is showing that he is not using that back leg to drive him any further. However, I wouldn't be surprised if he threw a strike. Now, he doesn't have any momentum taking him forward, but that's because he's not transferring his body weight. At the moment, all he's doing is taking a step toward his catcher and using mechanics in order to try and generate a strike. The ability to throw strikes at his age is challenging, but he had some success during summer ball from what I recall, if I heard correctly anyway. Again, he's got the routine down. He's doing the same thing. He's putting a little bit too much weight over that back leg. He hasn't shifted his weight. He breaks his hands and then he follows through. But that's okay because he's so focused on trying to get to the ball to the catcher, where the catcher is set up. This time you may have noticed he took a shorter stride, and he can certainly step a little bit further. He also takes that back leg off the ground, so he's not using that at all to generate any momentum. One thing that I would say I'm going to keep an eye on in the future is his elbow is in front of his face right now. If he were to be over his knee, I don't think it's going to be a problem, and he's not creating torque. That's going to damage his elbow right now. But in a couple of years, if that elbow is getting out in front of his face, then there's going to be a problem. because by then that's probably going to be the routine his arm is used to, or at least the brain is told his arm to do. And we won't want that to happen. So from this angle here, what he's doing is he's trying to generate some rhythm. So like I had mentioned before, where did all my icons go? If he could get the ball pointed towards second base, that'll help him with his velocity mechanics. Not a big deal. At least he's got 3 fingers on the ball and he's throwing it four seam. Let's see where he ends up stepping. Okay, he steps pretty good. He's stepping, for the most part, looking like right towards his catcher. So we like that. But of course, his foot comes off the ground, which is his habit. And one other thing that we notice is you watch his rotation of his body goes that way. Now, in a lot of times, what will end up happening is a pitcher is going to be leaning a little bit toward first base when they're a right-handed pitcher. And that's partly because of the way they're trying to get their arm angle to release the ball. And in Connor's case, that's okay to have his release there. We want the arm basically at the shoulder at 90 degrees. But because he ends up really going off to the left there, it looks to me that his knee is buckling in a little bit. So we may have to try and address that in the coming season. Well, let's clean this up here. And his last pitch, again, he's creating a fairly steady routine for himself. He steps well, plants, rotates. The only thing he doesn't do is he doesn't use his legs to generate, or his body weight to generate, any velocity. But you can notice that the pitch basically comes over the plate. He seems to be way off to the left this time. And again, that's the type of thing we're going to want to address for the next season. So the big things here for Connor is if I were going to choose 3 things to try and focus on, is we're going to try and get his weight to be part of the momentum that develops velocity. So we're going to try and get him to shift backward before he goes forward. He's going to go forward before he releases the ball from his glove or breaks his hands. I'm going to try and get him to extend his arm back by pointing the ball towards second base. And we're going to just double check the stability of that left knee when he ends up planting. And I have a feeling if we can make it so that he gets a little better stability there, we'll be able to take away some of that lean, that excessive lean and curl toward first base. But I'm very happy with what Connor has accomplished so far. Like I say, he is throwing strikes, and at the age he's playing at Tadpole, that's what we want to accomplish.